Animals don't have ownership of anything. Animals don't have ownership of clothes. Animals don't have ownership of housing. Animals don't have ownership of any property. Animals don't even own the food they eat. That is animals. They have no ownership. Everything they got, it is given. It is the mercy of someone who's giving them. Dogs don't own shoes. Dogs don't own clothing. Dogs don't own houses. Dogs don't own vehicles. Dogs don't own even the food they eat. Even the food they work for. Even the food they hunted. They don't own. They have no legal right to it. It can be taken by the employer, by a human being who is the owner. That is what colonialism did to black people. Colonialism disempowered black people. Colonialism took away ownership from black people. By making black people slaves, colonialism have taken ownership from. It have rendered black people animals. It have put them in the position of animals who don't own anything. By taking away the land from black people, colonialism have made black people no more than animals who have no ownership of anything. Black people don't own even the food they eat. They get their food at the mercy of the employer, even when they work for that food. Black people have no ownership of clothing or housing. Black people don't even own the land that they are living in. The land that we are living in belongs to the chief. The land that we are living in is held in trust by the chief and the king. The king and the chief have taken the position of a human being to animals. That is how we've been reduced to be animals. By taking away our ownership, we've been reduced to animals. The land that Africans are staying in is held in trust by the king and the chief. The land that white people are living in is not held in trust. They own. They've got legal rights. They've got title deed. White people have title deed. They own the land that we are staying in. But the land that, like animals, the land that we are staying in, we're staying at the mercy of the king and the chief. That is how apartheid and colonialism have reduced the people. That was to disempower us, to take away ownership from us, to reduce us, to make us animals. If you don't own the place that you are staying in, you are no less than a dog. If you don't own the land that you are staying in, you are no less than a chicken. You are just a dog, you're just another chicken, you're just another animal. You've got nothing to own, because you cannot own a house if you don't own the place where the house is built. You cannot own a vehicle if you don't own a vehicle where the place where you pack or drive your vehicle. You cannot own even a plane, because the plane you also need to land. So if you don't have ownership of the land that you're staying in, that is the greatest disempowerment. That is the greatest injustice. You are reduced to an animal. You can be told to move at any time. That is how apartheid and colonialism have reduced us into animals. But the biggest surprise is that after 1994, after the so-called liberation, still today, 20 years after, we still don't have ownership. We still don't have title of the places that we are staying. Our land is still held in trust by the king and the chief. Why is it so? When we were oppressed by colonialism and apartheid, our land was held in trust by the chief and the king. Now, 20 years after democracy, after the so-called liberation, after the so-called freedom, our land is still held in trust by the king and the chief. Why can't we get title deeds? Why can't we have ownership? Why can't we be empowered like white people? If one asks, we will be told that no, it's not easy to change laws. It's a process. It's not easy. A child is not born today and walk today. It's a process. We have to wait. But when they want to commit crime, they don't wait. When they want to kill their opponents, they don't wait. When they want to commit corruption, they don't wait. When they want to commit nepotism, they don't wait. They do it immediately. They say it's not easy to change the law. But the moment they took power, they destroyed the scorpions. They destroyed the only unit that was fighting corruption in South Africa. Why? If anybody has doubt that our politicians, our leaders are corrupt, that is the best indication that they are corrupt. The fact that first time they get into power, they destroy the crime fighting unit because they are corrupt. They didn't want to be arrested. 95% of parliament was either be under investigation or convicted of crime, of corruption. But the moment they took charge, they destroyed the scorpion. It didn't take long. Within weeks of getting into parliament, within the day they moved into office, they were legislating against the scorpions. Even when the court tried to tell them that it was wrong, they changed the laws to make it right because they didn't want to fight corruption because they are corrupt. They say it's not easy. But when they wanted to destroy scorpions, it was very easy. It didn't take long for them to get rid of scorpions because they are corrupt. But now they tell us that it's not easy to change the laws. It was very easy to destroy scorpions. Now they will tell us that no, it's not easy to give us title deeds. It's not easy to empower us. It's not easy to humanize us, to make us human. Because right now we've been dehumanized, we've been humiliated, we've been dispossessed. We black people need ownership. If we are equal, we must get ownership. The land should not be in the trust of the chief. The land should not be in the trust of the king. If that is the case, even suburbs must be held in trust by the municipality. Nobody must have ownership. If we are all equal, even in Kenya must be held in trust by the chief. Nobody must have title deeds in South Africa. That is if we are equal. It's either we all don't have the title deeds, or the whole land of South Africa is under trust. Because at first, when the white people were oppressing us, they had title deeds black people didn't have. But now we're supposed to be equal. So if we're equal, it's either all South Africans must live under trustship of the chiefs and kings, or all South Africans, we must all have title deeds, we must have ownership of the places that we stay. It is a transgressive justice for black people not to have title deeds 20 years after the so-called freedom. We need to have title deeds. The land should no longer be held in trust, whereby we own nothing. You cannot own a building, you cannot own a vehicle, you cannot own anything if you don't even have a grave, own a grave if the land is held in trust. Because you can bury somebody today, the following day you are told to take him out. Because you have no ownership of any place. As a black person, we have been dispossessed. We are living like animals. We are squatters in our own land. If this government was serious about freedom, the first legislation they made in 1994 was supposed to be to take away the trustship and give all people title deeds. But no. The first thing they did was to destroy scorpions when they take power, because they destroyed the crime fighting unit, the corruption fighting unit, because they are corrupt. They don't care about freedom. As long as they can steal without any consequences, to them that is their freedom. People, no king. A king must have title deeds of his own place. A chief must have a title deed of his own home. We are not the children of the king. We are not the children of the president. We are not the president of the king and chiefs. We are human beings. We are adults. Apparently, the government was treating black people like we are children. Even when you're 100 years old, you were just a boy or a girl. We were being treated like animals. So, if we are free, we need to be given respect. We must get our dignity back. The government must end this trustship and give people title deeds. We don't owe anything to the king. We're not born by the king. We don't owe anything to the chief. We're not born by the chief. It's either there's no title deeds in South Africa for all the people, or there's title deeds for everybody. Not only for white people, or only for rich people, or only for comrades. there is freedom from the freedom for everybody. I mean, the king didn't give birth to this country. His mother didn't give birth to his country. So let all have title deeds, or not let all live under trustship, from the suburbs to the far-flung village. We must either have title deeds or we must all live under trustship.